All right, everyone. I'm back streaming live. Hi, Marco. This is continuing some work on the PS Publish Helper module. It is Wednesday, February 13th, 2019. It's just after 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we're just going to continue on where I left off last time, working on the PS Publish Helper. I did do some work offline. So we'll start off with covering what I did in between the last stream and now, and then we'll pick up with polishing off, hopefully getting this ready to publish in the PowerShell gallery. So this module is what we're using to basically package up PowerShell modules. Um, so what's insane, Marco? Um, but yeah, this module is what I'm going to be using in my PSMekBuilder to actually package the module and do that. Oh, having code in PS Gallery. Yeah, it'll only be like the 12th module or something like that I have there. But it's kind of funny. This is a module to help you have modules that are not in the PowerShell gallery, and yeah, I'm going to publish it there so that if anyone else wants to borrow it and then put it into their offline environments. I guess I should add that one plan that I have for this eventually is to have a non install module. Oh, you're using some automation workflows? Yeah, it does. Every time that I look at Azure Automation and I see that workflows are really the way that you're supposed to do it, and you look at everything else in PowerShell which says like don't do workflows, it's kind of like anachronistic, especially since like in PowerShell core workflows aren't even supported. Yeah, no AZ commandlet supports. Um, that is a pain point. Uh, and there's still no packaged AZ commandlet uh, Azure DevOps task either. Um, so that's I don't know. There's some definite pain points in regards to Azure automation and PowerShell. But yeah, so eventually I do plan to make this module something that can be installed without the PowerShell get. Um, One of the pain points of PowerShell get is that in order to fix PowerShell get, they recommend you use commands in PowerShell get. So that's always been a pain point for me. Like if you look up like how to install PowerShell get or how to fix PowerShell get, it tells you to use install module, and that's a PowerShell get command. And obviously, if your PowerShell get is messed up, you can't do anything with it. So eventually, I plan to make this installable without using the PowerShell gallery and without using PowerShell get, because I do know for a fact that this is an a priori need in an environment, and you need some way to do it. And hopefully I can also make that task somewhat flexible so that people can replicate it in their own environments. I don't really know how to do that yet, because, for example, my build environments, we try to very strictly adhere to not pulling in anything from the internet during the build process. We want these builds to be self-contained within our environment. So pulling anything from PowerShell Gallery is out, pulling anything from GitHub is out, pulling anything from Choco would be out. So we have to kind of work around that in our own ways. So I'll have to think about how I can make that something that I be basically copy pasted somewhere else and adjusted so they can use it in their own environment. So enough about the future. Let's talk about the past. The couple of things that I did in the scene between the last stream and now is that I definitely added this get temporary path um, uh, commandlet, which basically creates a temporary path for the module. I use the same exact logic that they used inside of the um, uh, PowerShell get. I didn't deviate from that. So basically, I'm just taking system.io path, get temp path, and then get random, which I didn't even know this, that I didn't even know you could run this by itself, but you can, and it produces a random integer. Um, so that's what they're doing, and I'm basically doing the same thing, and it just joins together with that base and then the module name. So this is a temporary path that everything gets copied to. That's awesome. Splatting is probably the best thing about PowerShell. I've been trying to make a push in the past couple of years that we should be teaching splatting to PowerShell users at the very beginning. Like, here's a PowerShell command, and then here's a long PowerShell command with a bunch of parameters. Then step 3 is here's a splat. Then it's everything else about the language, because the yeah, splatting is just, it's amazing. We should definitely be teaching it sooner rather than later, because when you don't learn splatting, the first thing that you do is like, if you Google like how do I split up long commands in PowerShell, the first thing you get is like, just stick some backticks in it, because there's a bunch of very old popular blogs out there that are all about using the backtick, and backtick is a swear word in my book. But I'm glad you're taking that on, Marco. That's awesome. So yeah, this basically just gets a path. So let me actually, I can use my temporary thing here that will source all of these in here, and I can just pick a random module. So if I go like get module and then select first one and pipe it to get temporary path, you'll see that it creates something like this. Oh, you didn't know that you could do just do process? Yeah. So let's talk about that, because that's important to know. So you don't have to specify end or beginning or process. You can specify just end, just beginning, just process. What the difference between these blocks are and beginning and process is that begin starts before the pipeline is even activated. So every command in the pipeline will run its begin initially, and then stuff will start flowing through the pipeline. So begin runs before the pipeline is activated, everything's running through it. Process is run once the pipeline is activated, so you have to have a pipeline. And when you absent a pipeline, it just uses the parameters that you have bound. So process will always run, begin will always run, and end will always run, assuming that the pipeline isn't terminated. It's just at where they run. You can just specify process, and this is kind of a trick to make something supported on both the so I can do like get temporary path module and like get module select first one. So I can run it that way too. And or I can pipe in the module. So it's kind of like a neat way to do that. End runs after all of the commands in the pipeline have finished. So if you have multiple commands like A to B to C, right? Begin will run before anything else. So begin on A, B, and C will all run. And then A will start and its process block and will feed into B's process block, will feed into C's process block. After all the processing is done from all the commands, all their processes block finishes, end is run on all the commands. So that's kind of like a short introduction to that. It is kind of a good joke, Marco. Um, what can you do without a begin and an end in PowerShell? A process. That's good. So yeah, get temporary path was added in. I had to reorder the operations here because we were doing like we're doing get new spec contents, and then we were working on some of the other pieces of this, and I just needed to kind of reorder them. So, right, Marco, see you when you come back. Copy PS module is the other thing that I added. This basically just copies all the module contents. I copied pretty much most of what they were doing inside of PowerShell get. This actually doesn't live inside publish PS artifact. It actually lives inside publish module, their code. So I basically pulled what they were doing inside of publish module and refactored it a little bit. You'll notice that I'm using FQDN paths here, or FQCM rather, fully qualified command names. That's a thing that they were doing as well in PowerShell get, and I think that's the right move, just to make sure that I'm not using some overloaded remove item or something like that. So I kept with that. But this is also when I discovered that Patrick's module doesn't support splatting, because in PowerShell get, this was like one long command line with a bunch of parameters after it. And I just wanted to have it splat, and poor Patrick's module does not work with fully qualified command names. So anyways, that's sad. But I added these in here, and all this really does is it removes the temporary path, make sure that it's not there, and then it clears it all out so that we're working fresh. Just in case for whatever reason we happen to get the same random path as before. And then it copies everything from the module base path. And if it's a container, it does a recurse on the container and does a container copy, and if not, it just copies it to the destination. So their code was a little confusing. While I'm in here, I'm going to put some spaces in here because that's some of the cleanup that needed to be done here, just to make this a little more clear. And this could also be splatted because it's a little off the screen, and I hate scrolling left and right. So we're going to fix that up here. And normally I would use convert to splat, but since we're using a fully qualified command name, we can't do that. So this is the cheap way that I do the converting a long command line into a splat. Should do Alt here. So these ones we can get rid of this. These ones, since they were all switches, they just need to be set to true. And then we can go through here. Hey FX, how you doing? You do the same thing, just copy and paste it in there and edit the, yeah. It's, the multi-line edit helps with some of that for sure. So we'll do the same thing here. Let's do Alt. I can make this a little less painful on myself. And then get rid of this one, and this one should be true. All right. So that's better, a little less left and right scrolling. So that's good. I prefer to have a new line at the end of my files. This is funny. I've had debates with people about this new line at the end of files. I had a PR at work, and one of my coworkers was like, "You need to remove the." I'm trying to read that name. I can't even read that name. Sorry. XYZ is what I'm going to call you. But thanks. Hi. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining the stream. Yeah, no, it could be. And there's also some things you could do with some commit hooks and stuff like that to make sure it's done linting, all that good stuff. I really like having the line at the end. So I learned about this from working in a bunch of open source projects, but certain types of files on certain operating systems won't work with certain things if there's not a blank line at the end of the file. This became like, it's enforced in the PowerShell core project. They make sure that we have an empty line at the end of the of every file. But I was doing this at work, and somebody brought it up in my PRs, like, "Hey, you need to remove all these," and I was like, "No, that's not happening." And then I had to explain why, and they're like, "But we're not doing anything in C++ and Linux." I was like, "Yet, but who knows, you know." Anyways, so copy PS module is there. And it just, copies the module to a temporary location, because the next step then is to create a new spec file and populate it with the stuff that we created earlier. So get new spec file path is new as well. So if we look at that, yeah, it's pretty simple. All it does is it takes in the module and the path, which is going to be the temporary path, and appends module name new spec. So it's not that. I'm missing the new line there. So if we continue along with our example down here that we were using, and we do temp path, since that's what we have inside our code here, we can see like temp path does this, and if we were to do get new spec file path and do I should really assign this into something. I'm gonna do that first. I'm gonna use a module for select first one. All right, so we have a temp path and we have module, and if we just do get new spec file path module path uh, temp path, and we get something that looks like this. And it's just the name of the new spec file that's then going to be used to generate the NuGet package. So the did I update that? I did. It's modified. Good. The next step after that is to take the new spec contents. Yes, this is PowerShell XYZ. What I'm doing is that PowerShell has a module called PowerShell Get that allows you to publish modules to NuGet repositories and whatnot, but it was designed in such a way that kind of like it creates a NuGet package every time you publish, so you can't really do what's common in like .NET program compilation, where you can store that in a NuGet file and publish it in multiple feeds and then have it go out to multiple environments. So what I'm trying to do here is kind of emulate that by allowing you to package it once, and then you can upload it to multiple feeds. In that sense, if you're familiar with .NET programs. So I'm trying to help PowerShell adopt a build once, publish multiple, or deploy many, whatever you want to call it, paradigm. And I need to do that for my own personal projects and for my work ones, so this is kind of like an overlap between fun and work. So yeah, new spec content, we went through that several streams ago, I think, to build that out. I think I had a few bug fixes in it, and I just had to adjust a few things after I tested it on a few different modules and saw that it's not to my standards. So nothing too intriguing there, but what we needed to do then is set that new spec contents that we're creating. So it's just a string that contains what's in a new spec file that NuGet uses to actually package. So we're setting that to that new spec path that we created, and we're just using for force confirm what if. This was I copied and pasted some of this from the PowerShell Get module. So the next thing I do is I create the NuGet file, the nupkeg file path. So this is the path to where we're going to actually do our nupkeg. And this is actually something we pass in. So we get in a destination path as a parameter up here. We take it in, we test to make sure this path throws and that exists and that it's a container. So basically you pass in a folder, and then we will produce a nupkeg in that folder for the given module. So this, if I go to definition, if it comes up, yes. It's not doing anything extremely special. First thing we do is we have to create a PS data because we have to resolve the module version. So we need to stick that module version inside the nupkeg file name. So the nupkeg file name is the module's name dot version, and this will also work for its pre-release versions, which are supported by PowerShell. And at the end, we're just kind of joining that that path that we're passing in, which is the location where we want this to be and the file name. Because I like to use full paths in everything. I'm not a fan of relative paths. I like, not that you should hard code full paths, but that I prefer to use them inside my code. So if I'm given a relative path, I will not continue to use that. I will resolve it as a full path, and everything else will also be full paths inside my code. That's just some kind of convention that I've decided on to make it clear. And that way I'm not context switching between, is this a relative path or a full path? No, they're always full paths. If I give you something back, it's going to be a full path. If I do something, it's going to be with a full path. So yeah, not really intriguing. I can show you this with the existing path that we. Oh, I can use a different path. Let's say that I'm going to do C drive temp, and this is get nupkeg. Yeah, get nupkeg file path. And oh, can't do up on that one. I have a backtick evil in there instead of that. So this is what it produces. So just basically takes the module name, the module version, and nupkeg and the path, and just kind of sticks those all together. Nothing too special. Going back to the main thing here. So we've got our nupkeg file path that we're going to be using. So what we want to do first is we want to push location, and I'm using a stack called PS Publish Helper NuGet Pack to push the location on into the temporary path. So this temporary path is where we've copied the module to, so that we can create the nupkeg file and package it. So I'm just pushing location into there. Not 100% needed. It would be possible to do it with the NuGet command, but I really prefer to be in the same file folder as the NuSpec file and all the files that I'm packaging when I'm running NuGet Pack. So the other thing that I did on this line now, we'll see this here, is like I'm using and NuGet. What's that? So in my begin block, I actually resolve the NuGet command, and I created a new commandlet for this to do it too. So if I go to definition here, add my new line, which is missing. I'm taking in a commandlet, and this is the same thing that I was doing with one of the other commands to resolve. I'm taking in the calling commandlet if it's provided, and if so, I will issue the error messages from this as the calling commandlet. That way, the commands are automatically shown up as the calling commandlet and not as this commandlet in the error output. So just kind of a thing that I like to do with my private functions. It allows me to do things like not worry about repackaging error messages inside a stitched together function, which this is, right? I don't want to do any logic in this. I don't want to do any error checking in it. So I offload that to my private functions, which resolve NuGet command is a good one for that, because we want to die if this is not available. So we do. But all it does is it basically runs git command on NuGet to make sure that's an application type. It does a silently continue if it's not there, because we want to actually see if we don't get NuGets to throw an error as the calling commandlets if it's provided. And if not, we return that command. So with git command, like if I do this, it'll automatically give me this NuGet will be a nice little command here. You can see that it's at, and I can just call that command then with NuGet, just in case anyone's not aware. So that's how you can like dynamically look up commands and execute them without having to know their full path or anything like that. It's kind of a safer way of doing it than some of the other ways, other than like just calling NuGet, which could be rough because somebody could have a NuGet function or something like that in their environment, and dynamic scoping will mess with you and result in some weird results. So this is a better way if you're going to call out to um, applications to do that. So this command will handle like resolving what the NuGet command is, and storing it in a variable that we can then call with and it'll also handle our error issues. If we don't, it'll kill the commandlet if we can't find NuGet, because we 100% depend on NuGet to run everything. It's kind of important for a command called publish module NuGet. But so the next line here that we have is capturing some output from running at NuGet. We're basically running NuGet pack against the new spec path that we created earlier and populated with the new spec contents. The out directory we're setting as destination path. The base path is the temp path that we're already in because we did push location, but we're doing this just to be sure. We're saying verbosity quiet because we just want it to shut up, and NuGet is very loud. And non-interactive because we don't want it to prompt the user for anything. Usually this is going to be run in a CI. But we do write verbose with the output of that if there should be anything. And for some modules there are. Some of the ones that I was toying around with would produce output, some warnings about the fact that PS1 files are not in the scripts folder, which is a NuGet convention and not relevant to a PowerShell module NuGet. Anyways, so I'm wrapping this in a try block, and the reason for that is so that finally I can clean up after myself. I pop the location off the stack that we're on to go back to the previous working directory we were in, and then I'm going to remove the temporary folder that we created. So that way, if anything fails in here, then we are going to just revert our path to where we were, and then remove all the stuff, clean up after ourselves. And we're also going to do it whether we're successful, because we want to clean up after ourselves if we successfully create the NuGet file. I also added a pass-through on here, and that pass-through parameter, the idea behind this switch will be that if you supply it, it will return the item for the get NuGet file path. So originally when I created this, it would just do nothing when you did it, and that's great for most cases because we can then test to see if it was there, but I don't know what file path you created, so I might want that back in my automation to get that. So let's play with this real quick. I have a module, but it's not a good one to do. Testing with this earlier with the modules that are included in PowerShell, it was very broken, and that's because there's a bunch of modules packaged together in a single repository, in a single folder, and it's trying to copy that entire folder, which is pretty much all of PowerShell. Not a good idea. So the PowerShell included modules this doesn't work for, but I don't see why you'd be packaging those modules anyways. Let's work with something a little different. So let me do get module and see what I actually have available to work with. Looks like PS editor service commands is a good one to play with.
Are you finished, Mr. Slade?
No, I'm just getting warmed up.
So let's do that. That's a script one. That one's not going to work. Let's do... Is it... If I do convert to splat expression and run that, it should fail or something. Or work? Whatever. Oh, I converted this, which is hilarious. Alright, anyways, that should be now in my Yeah, that's it. No? Yeah, editor services command suite. That's a good one to play with. So we're going to do, I'm going to resource all of my modules here. So resourcing all these files to the current scope so I can play with them. And then if I do result equals publish PS module PS module NuGet name. I can actually. Oh, this is weird. Let me do clear on this. So we'll do result equal module, which should be correct, right? Fix that. No. All right. Let's do result equal module. Pipe that into PS publish PS module NuGet and destination path C drive temp, and I don't have a force. That's good. Pass through. It's going to take a little bit of time there, but if I do result, I should have this editor command suite and NuGet file, and if I did ls C drive temp editor services, it's there. So it created the nupkeg, and I don't have a good way to dive into it, but I've already looked at the results of these nupkegs, and they're exactly the same as what they would be if I was packaging with a publish module. So we're in good shape there that this works, but there's still some polishing. The command here at the end where I've got this try block, one problem is that I'm not actually doing anything that would catch that, so I need to do error action stop on a lot of these just to be sure. I don't know why a push location would fail, but it could. Now, I can't do anything with NuGet pack. I tried error handling with native commands in PowerShell is not something I'm extremely good at, and it's a pain. So I've just avoided doing it. In any case, anything real serious will automatically be an issue for this try block, so we don't need to worry about that. So there's that. The other thing is that I don't like destination path. I think output path is a better term that's more common. I do like get command and pipe this to, let me see, let me do get command and just grab one. Show you how I can determine whether or not this is a good idea. Get command. This is how I like to perform analysis on whether or not a parameter name is a good idea. It's taking quite a bit of time. There we go. So com should be like a list of commands that we have available. Let me just see one here. Yep, dot parameters. That one doesn't have anything. Let me try. Come on, something's got to have like. How do these commands not have any parameters? Okay. And just pick one at random. Okay. There's no way that that's true. It's saying that there's no parameters there. How is that possible? Oh, of course this isn't going to work while I'm streaming here. Is there anything in comms? There are. Okay, good. Let's do comms 0 dot parameters, and it's empty. What am I doing wrong here? Get enumerator? That's weird. It says that it's not null, but it's there. Okay, anyways, normally I would check the parameters, but I don't want to figure that out while I'm live streaming here. Normally I would go through all the commands and check to see what parameters are available and see if this one makes sense, but I'm just going to assume that output path is a better idea because I've never actually seen destination path. Actually, I should do this. Let's replace that so that we're updated all over the place. All right, so now we should be a little bit better positioned. So we're going to reload everything. And we'll run through our module to publish PS module NuGet output path C drive temp. And if I do ls C drive temp and editor services, you'll see that it's there with current last write time because it's 5:46 p.m. here. Okay, so that's a little bit better. We're going to take a quick break here, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to copy over the build stuff that I was working on, PSMekBuilder, and we're going to mash in the PS Publish helper into its own build pipeline to package itself, because we're at that stage where I have to do some chicken and egg scenarios for a little while. All right, so we're going to take a quick break here and we'll be right back in a few minutes.
And in the Parker City Blackwell area, 68 degrees today. Winds southerly at about 15 with gusts of 25 miles an hour. Barometric pressure 30.00 and is rising. And no precipitation. We're about a half inch behind, half inch ahead for the year, and 1 5300ths behind for the year so far. We'll be looking for a little bit of a change tomorrow, and of course the possibility of some scattered showers. Today, of course, there's nothing showing up on the radar. However, the satellite photo was pretty interesting for the western half of the U.S. Rain showers and thunder showers along that frontal system, and that wide band of fairly heavy snows. Now, what will happen each time that you see the frontal system on there? That begins at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you'll see the cloud pattern move until 2 o'clock this afternoon. So as of that time, of course, the front was way off in the northwest. Now, however, it's moving into the central part of the nation with a couple of high-pressure cells behind it.
All right. Back from that quick break here. And there was one thing that I wanted to kind of show off. So PS published module, the one actually available from the PowerShell Get, only supports modules that are loaded into memory. And I wanted to break that mold and make it work with modules that haven't been loaded. So if I do get module list available name and this and pipe it to output path instead of destination path. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear my current PowerShell session. So this module is not loaded into memory. If I do get module list available, it's there. If I do get module this, it does nothing. It's not. But we can still pipe it into here, and I have to actually source these. My bad. Then we can do this. So if I do ls C drive temp editor services, it's there with our current time. And if I look at get, I just go up and do get module, you can see it's still not loaded. So this supports actually packaging modules that aren't loaded with import module. I had to do some changes. So that was one of the other things that I did offline. And just to do that, it's in get new spec file content that I had to make some changes here. The problem with let's see, where was that? Was resolve PS module dependencies, which was a problem. So you have to parse the PSD1 file for some information, and the problem with that is that live loaded modules don't have the PSD1 file in their PS module info. It's just not available. Whereas the modules that you do from a get module list available will have them available as their path. So I'd made some weird assumptions earlier on, and I had to fix some of the logic in here to do that. But anyways, it supports both loaded modules and um, not loaded modules. So I'm just gonna go through these real quick and make sure I've got my new line at the end of all the files. Also ran into some weird things trying to resolve DSC resources on the actual PowerShell modules, so I made some adjustments in that command too. But mostly it was just like, if it's null, don't try to do something. There's some one of the DSC commands that it uses doesn't like when something's null, so I just had to fix that. All right, everything has the new line at the end of the file, so we're good. Make sure I've got everything saved. All right, good. I'm going to maybe commit here. Just call it tidying up. It's nice and clear what I did, I'm pretty sure. Yes, commit anyways. Push that up. So that's now live on GitHub at github.com/markykraus/PSPublishHelper. No, I would not like you to periodically run git fetch. That's a bad idea. A lot of my workflows rely on git rebase and git force push with lease, and git fetch breaks your ability to do git push force with lease. So not a good idea from my perspective to have VS Code doing fetch all the time. All right. So what we need to do now is we need to actually get some building for this module. So we're in a bit of a chicken and egg because we need to build our module and then we need to package it. But the thing that we're creating to package modules is this module that we need to build. So we're going to get to do some fun chicken and egg stuff here. Open folder, which you can't see when I'm doing this. That's fine. I'm just going to be opening up the folder to my PSMekBuilder project. That switched over. Well, that's not what I wanted. Let's try this again. I know what I need. It's an add folder to workspace. That's the one that I'm looking for. All right. So we have PS Publish Helper and we have PSMekBuilder. So what we want to do is we want to copy over some stuff from here. First of all, my git ignore. It's got bin, PS modules, and temp. Let me make sure that's good enough on this side. It is. So I'm just going to copy my build folder and paste it in here. All right, so need to also copy in git version. And I think that's it from that perspective, right? Yeah. At least to get us started here. So this is the build script that we had. Let me see if I can remove this from remove folder from workspace. There we go. Just to keep it simple, then I don't accidentally edit the wrong files here. So this was the build script that we were working on in PSMekBuilder, which is what we're going to be using to build modules. And we got this one working to a point where we were ready to actually start what's it called? Sorry, to actually start packaging the module. So the tasks that we have in here are, build module, clean all these good things that we worked on in the first couple of streams on this particular module. So I basically just copied and pasted in here, and that should be good enough to give us some kind of way of building. So if I do invoke build file, and this should be build ps1 task build. Did you build? What do I have? Task build. It should be build module, I think. Yeah. Build module. Oh, we get some red here. What do we got here? Cannot find path. Ooh, dependencies JSON. That's what I forgot. This actually doesn't have any hard dependencies, but I need to add that in. So actually, what I should do is I should fix this. I'm going to add that as a to-do item in the other project though. Add folder to workspace, PSMekBuilder, and we're going to copy config into here. And then edit config. I don't need configuration in this module. I am not using it. Actually, it's part of the build. That's right. Get version portable. I think this is actually okay. We're good there. All right. So now I should be able to clear this off. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. I have this temp folder where I can create things and not have them show up in my source control. So that'll help me reuse some of this over and over again. So invoke, build, file, build ps1 task, clean, and then build module. All right, let's run it this time. A lot less red. I think it's having to actually install the config module. Yep. All right, so it's built the module, and if we look in bin, we can see that I've got this module here. The PSM one's been compiled from all the things that need to be in there. All the functions have been added in. You can see that in the output here where it did that. It set the version to 010 beta 005. So we're good there. So next phase would be to package it. So we're going to edit the build PS1. Actually, no, we're going to add a new task. That's what we're going to do. In tasks, we're going to create a package module. I'm trying to think. I try to stick with the PowerShell approved commands for doing this kind of stuff. I really wish there was a package command. That makes most sense. Compress doesn't really work. New is really what's used, or publish. So I'm going to use publish module NuGet. That sounds weird because I'm not necessarily publishing, I'm more of like packaging, but publish NuGet package, publish module. I had the same problem when I was trying to name the command. I'm just going to call it like publish PS. I'm going to call it the same exact thing as the command, which is publish PS module NuGet. Task.ps1. We need to initialize before we do this task. Let me get the name for it. So we'll put the name in here and then initialize, comma, script block, because invoke build is a little weird for that piece, but that's all right. So we're going to initialize, and then if I have import PS modules, but I don't have import module. So the fun thing is that this one has to build its module and then import itself and then use itself to package itself, which is fun. At least until I can get away from the chicken and egg on that. So we need another task here to import module, which I use in some of my other projects as well. So and what this does is this actually like imports the built module. I need to copy the name from here. So, yay. I did Control C instead of Control V. This is why I use the mouse sometimes, because I have a really bad habit of mixing up Control C and Control V. Import module needs to initialize. We're going to assume that the module has been built because we want this to run by itself. So in my initialize task, I actually add the PS module path. So this path right here, modules, gets added to the PS module path, gets prepended to it. I do that by default. So if I look at my PS module path now, where am I typing at? Come on. What? The integrated console froze up on me. Let's try this again. And let's go to build. And let's just do the initialize task. If I look at env PS module path, I can see that it's added, no, it's not there. I guess it gets cleaned out. All right, that's fine. No, there it is. It gets added to the end of the path there. So what I can do, since that's like that, this will also help later because it's we're just going to assume that it's there. The import module task. Module name should also be in my initialize. If I look at it, module name is there. Thanks for the follow, Gatter. Appreciate it. Okay, so we can just do something stupid like this. Import module. And actually, I should have the manifest, destination manifest. That's probably the better thing to do. Yeah, that's what I do in my other ones, is actually get the module output manifest and import that. Import module dash force. And that should be it. So this will I'm going to put some output here. Quiet chat tonight. Very sad. You guys can feel free to talk to me. But anyways, so we're going to initialize and we're going to import the... Actually, no, this is not. This is invoke build tasks. I used to be a sake man myself. I started using invoke build at work, and I'm now more proficient on the invoke build side than I am on sake, so say la vie. But they're very similar, right? Like not too hard. The only thing that I'm doing that's maybe a little abnormal is that in my build PS1, I'm doing like what we do with the community modules, quote before we do this. This is kind of bad to do. Anyways, it's temporary. Eventually, when I get to the maturity level of PSMekBuilder, it will actually compile this together. But we're just doing a get child item on the task folder and then importing all the star.task.ps1s and dot sourcing them. So that allows me to create separate files for each task. So that's the only like really abnormal thing. So we're going to import the module there. The other thing is that I have a pretty anal retentive initialize task that I learned from many lessons at work building our pipelines to basically create a whole bunch of stuff up front in the initialize task, a bunch of variables, and then display all of them with the exception of secrets because it gets painful to troubleshoot a pipeline if you don't know what the heck it's using. Anyways, define the order of my tasks. So for example, build module itself, the task there does it. So why is that? Quit selecting that. Build module does a script block of setting the phase to build, and then it does initialize, create paths, all that kind of stuff. So basically, I create a task that's just a collection of tasks, and call that. Before this is still from this one should be like build. Usually, like I come back in the end and I add a build task that has like all the stuff that you would normally want to do, just a lazy build without everything in it, and that would be the default task. So if I called this invoke build against this build PS1, it would run the build task. But right now I don't actually have that, so build module is kind of doing that somewhat, but build would be more extensive. That's lazy. Like I don't want to call out each individual task. I just want to build. Whereas in a CI/CD pipeline, like in Azure DevOps, I like to actually call out each individual task as a separate task in Azure DevOps. That way, like the output is, segmented for that specific task inside Azure DevOps. I can download each one as a separate log. It's easier to parse as a human. So I like to support both models. Be lazy on the console and be verbose inside CI. So we have the import module task, and the next thing to do is to do our You're Welcome effects. Publish PS module NuGet task. So now we can assume that our module is in the environment. I'm going to just add the import module task as a dependency for this task, just to be sure that it's run before we run it. And then we're going to do some fun stuff here. We're going to do result, or what do I want to call this? Nup keg. This should actually be a script. I don't have this as an initialized variable, do I? It should be one. That's fine. Alright, anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself and not explaining what's going on in my head, and that's fine. You guys don't need to understand the insanity going on there. Okay, so script PS module nupkeg, I think is what I'm going to call this. It's pretty descriptive for a thing. We're going to do publish PS module. It's not in my current thing because I had to restart it. Let me get that in there. Oh no, downstairs neighbors playing their tribal drums again. I don't know if that'll come across the microphone, but if you hear some weird drumming noises, it's on my musician downstairs neighbor. Okay. Going back to publish PS module NuGet. So PS module NuGet. Now it's there. So this one uses the let's do this module equal get module name module name as I have it. And I'm going to add a note here. Publishing module nupkeg we'll pass in the module name and we'll do this module pipe to that, and then output path we will use bin because that's where it should go, is directly into bin, and I believe that's called bin path if I look at my output here. Output path. Haha! There's a good reason I chose that. Alright. So now, just doing this, I should be able to go back to my one here, and we'll do clean build module and then publish PS module NuGet. Actually, I want to add some verbosity here. And I just want the path. I don't like having fully this is getting unwieldy. Select, let's do for each object hash member name, full name, and then say PS module nupkeg. All right, that way we get some data back about what was created. So we'll go back into our little temporary build script here and copy this task name because it's a mouthful. Go here. All right, so this will clean up our environment and do that. I'm going to just restart the session for good measure. Run this. And I've got no output there, so full name might be wrong. Let me look at the bin folder here. It's there. So full name's not right. If I do get item, is this software development? Yeah. I mean, okay, so depends on what you define as software development. Happy bullets. So I am building PowerShell modules, and these PowerShell modules are used inside various forms of automation and deployment scripts and all kinds of stuff like that. They're packaged up and in multiple environments, dev, stage, and test. I'd say that this is software development, which might be kind of weird, but what I'm doing right now is more about CI/CD than actual building of a software project. This is the wrapping around what would be a PowerShell module that would then be published using this code. So this is the automation code for getting the code to the places where it needs to go. But it's kind of meta because it's using itself to do that for itself at this point in time. So it is both the automation piece and software development at the same time. I hope that answers your question. I'm not confident it did. Yeah, I mean, it's a build and release pipeline. You're building a module. Yeah, it's very similar. If you're not familiar with some of the more advanced PowerShell, or what I like to call PowerShell at scale, a lot of developers see PowerShell as just like, you know, Bash or whatever. It's what you use to run some commands or stuff like that. But there's actually some pretty in-depth automation software that's built completely on PowerShell. So, and that's what we do inside my environment. So it is software development, just using PowerShell, which doesn't always gel well with standard developer lingo. Okay. We didn't get anything in the PS module in the nupkeg, so I'm going to guess that full name is not the right thing to do there. That's not it. That's not it either. It's in tasks. There we go. Full name. So if I get item, you know, I could you get item C drive temp, or actually bin come on, and I do for each object full name. Well, that works. So something. Oh, that's what I'm not doing pass through. There we go. All right, let's try this again. We'll start from scratch here. And run. All right, so this time it did come out and give us the path. That's set now in a script variable that can be consumed by other tasks, such as, you know, publish module, whatever I create to actually publish NuGet modules, or just using NuGet. Hey Joel, welcome to the stream, buddy. You're catching me at a good time. It's like this is all working time. It's good stuff. So this is effectively what also happened in our other pipeline. The most important thing to me right now is that I have a nupkeg version of this, and let me see if there's is it extract archive? Is that the command? I don't remember. Decompress, uncompress? I can never remember the archive commands. Let's see. Get command archive. Expand archive, that's the one. Thanks, Joel. Bin PS Publisher, and then I just realized that the version on this is wrong, because this should be a it should have a dash in it because it is a pre-release. So I'll have to dig into that. Destination path / bin, but I just want to make sure that it's getting packaged properly first. Bin extract. Does that work? Ugh, only zip is. Who cares? It's a zip file. Anyways, I'm sure that's the fault of the underlying API and not PowerShell, because why would we do that? Right, I'm going to extract it so you won't be able to see it, but do I have 7-zip? Can I do that from the command line? 7-zip. Nope. 7z. There we go, 7z. Oh, that's a lot. That's not gonna take forever to figure out. I'm just gonna extract it outside of here and then show you the results. Give me just one moment here. GitHub. PS Publish Helper. Bin. Sounds like extract here. All right, so if I go into bin now, rename it to .zip. Yeah, it's probably a good tip. Probably would have been easier, but anyways, in bin I not this one here. So I extracted out this modules is you can ignore that. That's not part of it. That's part of the build process. But what you have in there is this PSM1, PSD1 new spec. The nupkeg itself comes whenever you do the thing. I love how that works. It's fun. Content types, some stuff in there. This new spec file is what we create. You can see that it's got all my stuff in there. Tags. It's got includes function, PS function, publish PS module NuGet, and commands PS publish PS module NuGet. So those are all there. Yeah. Yep. So that's what's inside that there. So the thing that I was saying was troubling, and if I scroll back up here to do this, is that this NuGet file is having the wrong version name in the nupkeg. It should be a dash because this module is a pre-release. If I look at it, I'll have to build it again. Let me clear this one up because this doesn't need to be there. That was a typo. What? What are you typing, Joel? Is pronounce nupkeg? Yes. Okay, so ask the other Joel how you pronounce nupkeg. And he will tell you something completely different. New package, new PKG. So the story behind nupkeg was MVP Summit last year. We were sitting in one of the rooms with the team that's responsible for PowerShell Get, and oh man, I forget his name. I really apologize for getting his name, but he was very adamant that the name that the file extension was called nupkeg, and he kept repeating it and correcting anyone who said anything different during the entire session, including Joel Bennett, who kept on saying like something else. I forget what he was, nuke or something. I can't remember what he was calling it, but Keith, that was his name. Keith kept on correcting him, saying, no, it's nupkeg. So started out as kind of a joke, and now I just reflexively call it nupkeg all the time. So whether or not that's the correct pronunciation is up for debate. Anyways, let's see. I'm going to restart my session here just to make sure we're clean. I'm going to run a clean on this just to clean up the environment. Helps if I have the N actually selected. Borg Keith. That's a fun error. One for which I don't care what it's saying. Alright, so I've cleaned that up. Right. Bin's empty. So I need to figure out why. I'm going to build this just to, before I package it, and look at the outputs here just to be sure. But a PSD1 should have a pre-release version in it. Because here's the version piece right here. It says that build version is that, and that the manifest does have that. So I just want to make sure. Pre-release is set to beta 005, versions 1. So we've got a problem inside our ability to determine the module version. So we've got a bug inside our module that builds the modules. So resolve PS module version, that'd be my first guess. Let's see what I need to pass in. Module and PS data. So let me do resolve, see, PS data. Equals resolve PS data. I need to actually import this from here. That's right. Dot sourcing. Yay. So PS data equals resolve PS data module. I need to import the module first. Let's do that. Module equal import module. I've got caps lock on again. Pass through, and then bin modules, PS modules, PS1. All right, so now I've got my module in there. I can do PS data. Now I had to get all out of the way to get that. Resolve PS data module. And let me just look at my PS data, because that should have the pre-release in there, and it does not. So that's where our problem is. Resolve PS data. Pre-release. That's weird. So what this does is it does a get enumerator on this PS data thing. So it has this. It takes that key. It says item key, which I'm not even reusing, am I? No, I am. Results equals item value. If not item value, so if it doesn't exist, then results equals that. So let me try debugging this. I don't know how well it's going to work. Last time I was trying to debug inside here, it was buggy, so to speak. So let's go in here and PowerShell interactive session. Does that work? And then I don't want to do this one. And let's do, nope, didn't hit it. All right, start. Does that help? Now I've got to do some work on this again. It's gonna be fine. Module, okay, first things first. Go here and import these, and then we can go into module equal import module pass through bin modules ps module help ps1. Now we should be able to do ps data, and hopefully that actually hits our line. We'll see. PS data equals resolve PS data module work. No, still didn't work. All right, let me try doing a script here. I wonder if it's because I'm trying to do on itself. But let's get out of this. Oh, that's why. Ah, you can't. Okay, we'll do it this way. That's why that wasn't working. I was hoping that you could F8 into that debug session. Apparently you can't. I'm pretty weak at debugging. I don't do this way a whole lot. But I'm really curious what's going on inside here. And this is, you know, a little bit of trying to get myself into the habit of actually doing debugging instead of just reading through code and figuring out what's going on in my head. I think that'd probably be faster, but probably not as fun for everyone else to watch me struggle through all of this. So we're going to module equal import module pass through. Could give me some tab completion, that'd be great. And then hash bin hash modules ps module psd1, and then ps data equal resolve ps data module. All right, this should hit the path if I run this from here, in theory. And we hit that, but it's not going into it, so let's step into. It's not. This was what has happened with me before with the debugger in PowerShell. It wasn't actually stepping into the functions at all. It was just like, no, I'm good. I've got it. Like, I don't know. It's really weird. I don't have a good answer for that. So, back to the normal way of doing this then. Or the usual way for me, anyways. So resolve PS data. We passed in this PS data one. Module.private data. Let's see what's in there. Pre-release. Oh, that's why. It's not actually. Oh, for crying out loud. Ugh. That explains it. So pre-release is not a sub-value of PS data. And if I probably look at the PSD1, I could probably see that. Yes, it is something separate. Is that on the module itself? Can I see that on the module? It's just in... It's in private data. So I might have to special case that one. That's fine. So resolve PS data, and if item not value, if not item value, then if slash not I'll just do it this way, and key not equal pre-release, else if equal pre-release. There's a smarter way to do this, but I don't care. Result key equal module private data dot key, whatever. All right, so that should not suck so bad. Let's import this, and then I should be able to just go up, resolve PS data module. Just do this, and then PS data. There, pre-release is there. So we're gonna restart the PowerShell session, go into our little build here thing, and we're gonna run through the full gamut for clean build package and release, or clean build package rather. And that looks much better. We've now got the right package name in the in there. All right, cool. So we've got this up to the point where we can package it. It builds the module, it packages it from the build module. The package looks correct. So the next thing for me to do would be to do a tag version of this branch, and there's a lot of I need to make sure that I've got this PSMekBuilder remove folder from workspace, and yeah, good. So I'm going to do a commit on this real quick and say one thing that I want to unstage is resolve PS data. So this is add build pipeline, and then fix PS data pre-release issue. Cancel this. I have to stage it first before I can commit it, and then push. All right, so those should be live on the GitHub repo for everyone to see. Let me just copy this over here so that everyone can have it, just to be clear here. And we'll just recap what all we've done here today. So we kind of polished off the uh, publish PS module NuGet function in there, did some cleanup on it, renamed a parameter, nothing too fancy there, and then we imported our PSMekBuilder build pipeline. Uh, hey Adil, um, we imported our PSMekBuilder build pipeline so that we could build this, and then we're using our own module in this PS publish helper to actually package it. So kind of meta there. The idea is that PSMekBuilder will take in this module as a dependency and use it to package modules then. Um, but for now, this project itself is just going to use itself. So it builds the module using PSMekBuilder, and then it publishes its NuGet package with itself for now. This too will eventually take in its published version of its module as a dependency for building. And eventually we'll have to, catch up and increment um, the dependency there. But for now, this is in a working state. We've got it. We can see that it builds the module. Um, it then creates the nupkeg file without using PowerShell get, using our nice little thing. And then we could take this nupkeg file, we could upload it to PowerShell Gallery, we could upload it to Azure DevOps, we could upload it to 5 or 6 different NuGet places if we needed to, which in my case is a very real scenario. So yeah, I think this is a good stopping point. It's all working here. The next phase of this project will be to, after I publish this to PowerShell Gallery, will be to go back to the PSMekBuilder module, add PS Publish Helper as a dependency there, and then use it to package the PSMekBuilder module. So we're going to go back into meta mode and go back and forth. These two modules are going to be a little bit interdependent, but PSMekBuilder is going to effectively be a wrapper for um, the plaster. It's just going to create a plaster template of itself. So um, we have to build the pipeline, test it, get it all working first, and then we'll create a template from that, and then we'll make that as a module, which we can then create modules from. So this is quite the meta project. That's why it's bouncing back and forth between these two modules, but since they aren't 100% related, and my PS Publish helper will help way more people than my PSMekBuilder very opinionated build pipeline will. I wanted to keep them separate and not couple that code. So anyways, I'm going to close this out for today. I thank everyone for watching. I hope to see you back. Everyone who's watching the VOD, try to catch me live sometime. You can now subscribe. I'm an affiliate, all that good stuff. I also have my Patreon set up, all that kind of stuff. Links are on my Twitch page, so go check that out if you're interested. And we'll start getting some donation stuff set up for subscriptions and the like, so we can give back to some communities out there that are kind of underrepresented. And thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back.